Okay, tell me again, why are we doing this? It's simple, Rarity began as she levitated a brush over her subject's mane. If you and I are going to be working together, the both of us need to be on level ground. And while I may not be afraid to get my hooves dirty, unarguably the one who needs the most grooming is you. So before we get started on any kind of dress, we need to make you good and presentable. Applejack groaned, but made no move to budge. She had taken a shower that morning, and was grateful that her friend hadn't seen the need to inundate her in a sea of bath salts and exotic perfumes. However, she wasn't able to get away from a good mane combing, so she stared forlornly at the stuffed mannequin that was wearing her pappy's hat and hairband. I can do this, she thought to herself. Rarity's given me a chance that I won't be able to get otherwise. I just need to hold out and let her do what she feels best, even if it is rather frou-frou. The unicorn made a humming sound as she brushed the knots out of the farmer's blonde mane. She tilted her head and studied the fall of the golden curls for a moment. Then, with a smile and a whim, she levitated a spritzer bottle over and began to douse the applebucker's mane. Now hang on there, AJ started, alarm creeping into her voice. Don't you go cutting anything, you hear? I'd like to keep it whole for the show, if you know what I... Relax, Applejack, Rarity soothed, placing a hoof on her shoulder. She was trying quite hard not to turn the reassurance into a critique on grammar. I'm only having a bit of fun. It's not every day I get you to hold still for a session, after all. I won't cut anything, I promise. But you look so much more high class after this, I tell you. High class? Sophisticated? She's just having fun, the Earth Pony told herself. Tain't anything permanent. Just relax. She found herself grimacing at the brushing. After a minute or so, the White One stepped back from her work and gave Applejack an appreciative smile, before motioning her to turn her head one way and then the other. Perfect, she beamed. Now it just needs one last touch. Ah, I know. A nearby wardrobe opened up and a box floated out of it. As it stopped by the unicorn, the top hovered upwards and the contents floated out. A gold necklace with a bright purple gemstone embedded in the center. It took the orange pony a second to recognize it as Rarity's element of harmony. This is just for now, Rarity stated before the necklace floated to Applejack and secured itself around her neck. Perfect! Okay, Applejack, come over here. She got on all fours and followed her friend over to the other side of the room, where a full-length mirror awaited. With a triumphant grin, the unicorn pulled it in front of her subject. Behold! A diamond in the rough! AJ could not believe her eyes. It wasn't so much that her friend's element was hanging around her neck. It was the hair that had her attention. Styled up in a bun, bunched up, leaving only a small amount hanging down her neck and in front of her eyes. Last time her hair had been like this, it had been back when she was a filly. She saw her younger self in that reflection, young, sophisticated Manehattenite Applejack. The necklace gave her an air of elegance that suited the adult form that was looking back at her. Dear Celestia, what would Aunt and Uncle Orange think of her now? She found speaking in Manhattan to have been one of the hardest parts of being sophisticated. Could she even still do it? She wasn't certain it would look right to have her regular voice tumbling out of the visage in front of her. What was one to do? She found herself clearing her throat. I say, what wonderfully exquisite look you have there, madame. Is that necklace what I think it is? Oh my, it looks it, doesn't it? An element of harmony. Oh dear, you must simply tell me the tale of how you obtained that rare prize. It would be an honor to have you as my guest. She smiled at herself. That wasn't too hard. Thump. She turned her head to the source of the noise, in time to see Rarity doing an impressive impression of a snake who had unhinged their jaw from their head, and allowed it to drop to the floor. On top of that, she had somehow managed to make all color disappear from her irises, the pupils having shrunk to tiny black dots. Dots that were locked on her. Oh, crab apples! Applejack cursed to herself. I just said all that out loud, didn't I? She took a hesitant step toward her friend. Rarity? She asked, her normal twang now back in place. There was a couple of blinks before the jaw ascended and locked itself back into place. Applejack! She stammered, eyes still riveted on the Earth Pony. You all right, Sugar Cube? I don't... Applejack! The unicorn appeared to be gasping for breath. Your voice! How? When did... Applejack looked down, a guilty look now on her face. I don't reckon I ever told you the story of how I got my cutie mark, did I? You've been to Manhattan? I told you, the Earth Pony answered, a frustrated blush on her cheeks. I was just a silly little filly at that time. I didn't know any better. Applejack, please! Rarity rolled her eyes disbelievingly. Do stop talking about going to one of the most cultured cities in all of Equestria, second to only Canterlot, as if it was some sort of big mistake. But it was, AJ argued. If I hadn't seen Rainbow Dash's Sonic Rainbow when I did, I'd probably still be stuck up there in some frou-frou dress, hobnobbing with my aunt and uncle. And where would the farm be then, huh? Apple Bloom? She would have grown up without even knowing her own sister. I barely escaped from that there city with my life. And ponies say I'm the melodramatic one, the dressmaker sighed under her breath. Listen, AJ, no pony can disagree that you made the right choice in going back to the farm. I'm certainly not, none in the least. What I am confused about is why you've buried all your proper high-class training the Orange family gave you after you came back. "'Twarn't me," the farmer replied, her eyes now directed to the shop floor. "All that sophisticated nonsense didn't do jack squat for me in the end. And how exactly would I go about using it on the farm? Better to forget the whole thing ever happened." "Oh, no, no, no," was the comeback she got. "My dear, you simply do not know the tools you have at your disposal." This was quickly followed by the unicorn rushing over to her and taking her hooves in her own. "If you could use that cultured grammar in the presence of royalty and the rich, you would have doors open to you that you never would have believed. Oh, darling, let me hear it again. You must have not used it in so long, yet there wasn't a hint of your accent." "Accent? What accent?" Rarity blinked. "Why, I mean your everyday speech, Applejack. Surely you don't." There was a honk of noises as an orange equine leaped in and gave her an emerald glare. "What you talking about, Rarity? I ain't got no gosh darn accent." Mr. Huffman was about to comment on the impressive stringing of a triple negative, but it was then there was a quick rapping at the storeroom door. She gave Applejack a shush motion before trotting over to the entrance and opening up. "Greetings and welcome to Carousel. Oh, Mr. Marmalade, what a pleasant surprise." The unicorn backed up and allowed a tall, burnt orange stallion to trot inside, a short, trim, brown mane and a tail swishing behind him. Besides the overcoat he was wearing, he had a cutie mark of a jar of jam.
"Madam Rarity, I do apologize for the intrusion, but I could simply not contain myself. I have heard word of your legendary speed in your craft, and so I wondered if you had already had any designs sketched out."
"Oh, she pawed at the ground and glanced over at the pile of papers that the mess from earlier had been hastily arranged in. "I've got several ideas on paper, yes, but nothing final. I was..." She quickly glanced around her shop before letting her eyes rest on the blonde companion. "Oh, I was consulting with an expert in the agricultural field before I decided on anything. Let me introduce you." Applejack had been watching the entire exchange in silence, trying to make herself unobtrusive. However, her endeavor in stealth was quickly put to the pasture as the unicorn brought in the dapper male over to the mirror. "This is a close friend of mine," Rarity began, her voice filled with pride. "She owns the biggest apple farm this side of Canterlot. She may be a little rough around the edges, but trust me, she's absolutely divine." "My ears are burning over here, Sugar Cube," Applejack thought to herself.
"I say,"
Marmalade exclaimed, allowing his eyes to roam up and down Applejack's form, causing the filly to blush slightly.
"what a picture of elegance. Hard to believe that you're a farmer. What's your name, madam?"
"My name?" There was a motion to the stallion's right. Rarity was shaking her head, a panicked look in her eyes. AJ raised an eyebrow. What did she want? Now the unicorn had brought her hooves together in a prayer form, a pleading look on her face. Beads of sweat were appearing on her brow. Oh, that's what she wants. The entire exchange appeared to have gone unnoticed by Mr. Marmalade. The farm pony turned socialite gave her a silent sigh before clearing her throat again and letting the Manehattan out. "My name is Applejack, good sir, and you must be the client that Rarity has told me so much about."
"Ho-ho!"
was the response she received, his face lighting up in pleasant surprise.
"So cultured for one so young. Yes, I am that same said client. My name is Mr. Mango Marmalade, and I run a preserving facility outside of Philadelphia. I have a spot reserved for me at the EACE. Perhaps you've heard of it."